Okay, hi all. Thank you for WikidataCon 2021 and WikiSite for giving me this opportunity to talk about making scholarly articles findable towards ensuring fair data principles. I'm John Samuel, and I'm an active contributor on Wikidata. And for my day job, I work and research on data science and teach subjects related to web and AI, etc. The first question of my presentation is, what exactly is fair data principle? So this acronym was defined in a paper in March 2016, the FAIR Guiding Principles for Scientific Data Management and Stewardship. And the FAIR here stands for findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So what exactly is findable here? So there are 4 criteria, but in this talk, I'm just focusing on one particular aspect, that is making the data or describing the data with rich metadata. And this is the point of my talk. So what exactly I'm talking about is what's scholarly articles. So if you talk to the scientific community, there are different versions by which they define scholarly articles. So I have taken the first definition, which is on Wikidata, where it says article in an academic publication, usually peer-reviewed. You could have aliases like scientific articles, academic papers, but you also have other types of scholarly articles, I would say, which is like the scientific conference paper, the conference articles, or the scientific conference articles. But people may, but I think the Wikidata community has also included preprints. So I think I would also include preprints for this discussion. So why this talk? What's happening? Why did I propose this task? Interestingly, if you see the community and if you see the follow discussions in different places, there's an impression within the community that Wikidata items is one side and scholarly items are on the other side. So there's no particular link between these two. And somehow this has created a lot of problem because people said Wikidata is all about astronomical objects, it's about galaxies, it's about scholarly articles and nothing else. So if you follow discussions on social media, you get such an impression. But what exactly is happening in scholarly articles? Why this impression is there? So if you take scholarly articles, you have this middle, you have a lot of islands within the scholarly articles. You have journals, you have institutions, you have conferences, authors, and of course you have external external identifiers like DOIs or PubMed identifiers, etc. So whole of these constitute scholarly articles, all information related to the scientific publications. But is it an island? Is it an island that is completely separate, or can we bring it to the main island called the Wikidata? So my question is how to ensure the findability of scholarly articles on Wikidata. Is it a separate island, or is it really that can be brought to the main island called the Wikidata? So when I planned my talk, my idea was this. So scholarly articles within the island of Wikidata items. Now, yesterday I attended a couple of tasks and I found that there has been a discussion like this, which means that we may have to create a separate subgraph or separate, delete all the scholarly articles from Wikidata and put it on a separate Wikibase or any other particular database that we want to create. So I had to make a plan B for my talk, and I said, okay, even though this may come up in the future, we may have to separate out scholarly articles from the Wikidata items, but the crux of this talk still remains. And the idea here is, how can we link the Wikidata items to the scholarly articles? So the main idea behind this talk is about main subject, and that is P921, the property P921, which describes the main subjects of a scholarly article. So the question that we may ask is, the main subject is P921 the missing link between Wikidata and Wikipedia? Can it play a major role? So if you take Wikipedia and if one of the things that we always talk about in Wikipedia is that we need citations. Citations are needed. So we always ask contributors to add citations, and we do the same in Wikidata. So now I took a simple article. Went to Wikidata article on English Wikipedia and decided to take a look at all the references that are present there. So there are almost like 48 articles. So some of them are links, but there are some scientific articles that have been linked on this page. So of 48 references in total. But is that all? What about the other articles? What about the numbers of many articles that have been published all these years during Wikidata conferences, Wikidata workshop? We also have the conferences in the WW conferences. What about all those articles? So then I took a look about something, and I used something called derived statements on my Wikidata entry. So I clicked on derived statement, and I saw this main subject of, and I got a number of articles that were published that are related to Wikidata. So I have this a big list. And then I made a list of analysis and said, okay, let's see how many of these articles are actually linked to Wikidata. So taking a look at scholarly articles which uses the main subject Wikidata, and those which uses the main subject Wikipedia. Note here, I'm not clearly distinguishing between English Wikipedia or French Wikipedia, Portuguese Wikipedia, etc. I just took the main subject Wikipedia. So you see there's a very limited number. You see there is like 465 articles that have been published compared to the number that we just saw, 48 on references on Wikidata article on Wikipedia. And there are 22,525 articles related to Wikipedia that have already been linked. So there are lots of things to analyze here. What out of all these articles, 465 articles, why only 48 are present on English Wikipedia? What were the decisions? And these are the questions that people may want to ask, but we are not yet ready because we have not been able to link all the existing scholarly articles related to Wikidata or related to Wikipedia on Wikidata using the P925. But why it is important? So as I said, I work on AI and machine learning aspects. So I decided to take a look on another topic, machine learning. And this is an analysis that I found on Scholia. So I clicked on Scholia and I decided to take a look at the papers that were published on related to machine learning and see what is the progress. And you could see that there have been a significant increase in the papers that are published in the area of machine learning. So you see the graph is quite increasing here. So then I said, okay, let's see who are the people who are working on this. Can it give me some interesting numbers? Again, so I clicked on Scholia and I found, okay, there are many authors like Jeffrey Hinton, Jan LeCun, who have been publishing a lot of works on machine learning. So this is interesting because we have these people, the papers, the scholarly articles were already linked to their main subjects. That in this case, it's machine learning, Q2539. And because of that, we were able to get these interesting statistics. So then I said, okay, let's see, what about diseases? If you have run a query recently on diseases, there are almost 27,000 diseases that have been documented on Wikidata. And if you see, not all of these diseases have been linked to scholarly articles. So it means, can we have some imaginary disease which has never been published and we do not have any proof whether they exist? And that's possible because there are many diseases who have diseases who have no links to any scholarly articles. So this is problematic, especially if you're coming from a medical research domain. You may wonder, it's not possible. You cannot create a disease unless you have something in the scientific literature. So that's a big point. And you can also see from this particular image that there are certain topics that a lot of people have been working on: leukemia, COVID-19, the recent coronavirus crisis. the problem of obesity or schizophrenia, etc. And of course, asthma. So in many places related to pollution. So these are the topics that have been very well discussed, and there have been many articles that have been published, and they have been linked to Wikidata scholarly articles. So then I decided to focus just on the heart diseases. So I must confess that I have been working on documenting the heart diseases, linking them to P921. And so if this number is not the same 1 year before or 2 years before, it could be that there have been some work during the last couple of months. So when I see heart diseases, we have got a lot of topics on cardiac arrest, congenital heart diseases, atrial fibrillation, etc. But I'm not a medical expert. I do not know, but I am just taking the articles that have been published and trying to extract the words like atrial fibrillation from these articles. Sorry. So we have already seen the statistics by Daniel Mission. We see that there are almost 13 billion triples on Wikidata, and there have been 284 million citations so far. So this is the status coming from yesterday. What I'm interested today is to talk about the 2 points which have been highlighted here. This number of scholarly articles, the 37 million scholarly articles that are present on Wikidata. But the problem here is there are only 17 million articles, sorry, 17 million works that have got some main subjects or they are being used on Wikidata. So it means that almost 20 million articles, scholarly articles, have no links to Wikidata, existing Wikidata items. And this is very problematic because they are just like, as I have been saying in the beginning, it gives an impression of a separate island somewhere, and we do not know what these articles are talking about. So the question that I want to pose and I want to discuss is how to add main subjects to scholarly articles on Wikidata. So what I'm going to talk next is what I've been doing during some of these years at a very small scale, but now at a bigger scale. First thing that I wanted to talk about is to give you an example here. So there are two scientific scholarly articles, Declarative Machine Learning Systems, the first article, and the second article is System DS, a declarative machine learning system for end-to-end data science life cycles. So these are existing articles. You could check these Q numbers. So first question, what would be the main subject here? So I'm giving you 3 suggestions. First suggestion, I could say this is an article on machine learning. Of course, there's a term machine learning here. So I could say the main subject is Q2539 for both these articles. But I could also say, no, this is a new topic some people have been working on. This is an article, the first article has been recently published in ACM. So it means it's something that is going to be coming up in the upcoming years. So I think we need to create a new item here. So I decided to create a new item, declarative machine learning. So the Q11085-15195, and said, okay, this particular topic is linked to these two articles. So people may say, no, I don't think so. Why not think this as declarative machine learning system? Yes, this is one other possibility. So there are discussions that if you are as a contributor wonder, should I add machine learning? Should I add declarative machine learning, or should I add declarative machine learning system? It's sometimes a very difficult question for contributors and something that we need to discuss as a community, or maybe as discussed with the subject experts. So do you need to create a separate entity for this declarative machine learning system? Or is it okay that I just link to declarative machine learning? So in this case, I decided to use declarative machine learning as the main subject. So what I do normally, I used to make use of Wikidata Media Wiki Search API, so which helps me to find the scholarly articles. The first thing that I do, get me all scholarly articles. So I could do that using hash WB statement P31 equals Q134428815, which is the Q identifier for scholarly articles. Then what I did, okay, I just want to focus on articles without main subjects, something that I just talked about, the 20 million scholarly articles which do not have the main subject. Okay, that's good, but that's 20 million. I am not able to focus on them. So I just said, okay, no, I'm not going to do that. Maybe I'll take a look at a couple of them and do it manually. That's fine. But why not go beyond and say, okay, give me all the scholarly articles which out any main subject and which contains the word phrase machine learning. And so I said, okay, has WB statement P31 and doesn't have, that's with minus hash WB statement 921 machine learning. So it gives me a list of articles which do not have the main subject and which are related to machine learning. So that was my first initial way of working. Then I said, okay, let's try all with Wikidata query service. So, okay, if I try to do any of these queries there, this is going to time out. I have tried with my students. So sometimes I use limit. So I say, just limit to 100 articles or 1,000 articles. So if you are trying to use this and try and run on the Wikidata query service, these may not work. So you have item WDP31 and the scholarly articles. You said, don't give me the scholarly articles with main subject. And the last one, I say, give me articles without main subject, but focusing on machine learning. And I'm telling, and why, and I'm telling you the last query will not work because it will time out. So this is problematic and we cannot easily work. So my suggestion, if you are working, if you want to build tools, you could use the first approach, where you use the MediaWiki search API. But now, what happened during the last 3 months? There was a big change that has happened, and people have been working on making tools. And so I used to use Quick statements, and I also used to use Scholia archived Quick statements, which helped me to add just a statement P921 and the occurs and the associated queue number. But then there's a new tool that came up created by Dennis Prescon. I do know. I think I think they are here on this during this presentation. So this tool has helped me to easily add subjects to the main subjects, and that's why you have seen a big increase in main subjects during the recent times. So what's happening? What's so great thing about this particular tool? So I said I wanted to add main subjects to items whose titles contains the phrase machine learning. Previously, I had to go through all these steps that I just presented. Now I have got a tool which does everything. It searches all the items whose titles contain the machine learning. So I can say, okay, please add this title. And that's this command. I just write it on the terminal. My Python item subject .py-na-a to Q2539, and the subject articles are added to many machine learning related scholarly articles. Now, what is NA? It's just to say that I don't want to use aliases, because sometimes you have SARS-CoV-19, you have SARS-CoV-2, you could have all those aliases, but in this case, I do not want to use the aliases. So I said, don't use the aliases. And then if I want to just focus on subjects, on like items which do not have any main subject, I could add just -w. So in that case, I am able to cover a lot of topics. But again, you could ask me, why did you think about machine learning is a good option, or I should do declarative machine learning or some other machine learning? Of course, so that's possible. So I'm just giving as a simple example. I would rather start with specifics and then go to generics. So in this case, I would start with declarative machine learning and then go to machine learning. So I'm coming towards the end of my talk. And so what is the futures? The future is, okay, right now I'm just focusing on the titles of scholarly articles. So you could also think about titles in French, titles in other languages, which could all be linked to the Wikidata article or thus corresponding Wikipedia article. So that's the aspect of multilingualism. Next thing that is interesting and people have been working on, there is Tiago Ljubljana from Brazil, who has been working on topic tagger, who has been proposing the use of hypothesis for tagging the abstract of stuff, abstract of articles, and then add the main topics to Wikidata. That's an interesting thing, but I think for the purpose of mining and and respecting the licenses, we cannot use them so easily. We have to be very careful. So we have a very interesting aspect of a very interesting project, which is similar to the lines of initiative for open citations. We have something called initiative for open abstract, which will put the abstracts of scientific articles in with either with the public domain license or CC0 license, which will open the door for doing further mining and to add more subjects on Wikidata. And of course, as I said, more subject experts. I know what's happening in machine learning world or in semantic web, etc. So I could understand what would be the best option for us main subject. And I'm not a medical expert. I cannot do that. But if a person who is a medical expert can help, can come forward and say that this could be an interesting subject, create a new items and add and find relevant articles on Wikidata, this would be an interesting way forward. So I would say there is a lot of work that is possible. We have 20 million scholarly articles that miss main subject. So that's lots of it's a big challenge, and it will also open door for multilingual scholarly article analysis, and it will be very interesting if we take it forward. With that, I conclude my talk, and these are the two images that I have used in my talk. And if you have any question, you could contact me, or you could contact my website. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I am ready to answer.
Thank you for your talk, John. That's very interesting. We do have some questions in the Etherpad, but we only have a couple of minutes, so perhaps we can just try and take the first one, which is how do we deal with topics where the knowledge is preserved outside of the strict definition of a scholarly article? So perhaps that's popular magazines and newspapers, etc.
Yes. So when I talked about main subject here, I just focused on scholarly articles, but we have been using scholarly articles for main subject for films. We have been using it for magazines. We have been using it for books. I mean, non-scientific books like fiction, etc. I have been doing it for the finding books related to LGBT plus topics. So these things, this is possible. So you could also do that. If those items are present on Wikidata, we can make use of P921.
Okay, thank you for that. There's another one. I don't know if this is a quick and easy answer, but do you think there are researchers who are interested in writing articles in an abstract way?
In an abstract in the sense of abstract Wikipedia? Wow, that will be interesting.
That's the context I'm understanding it in.
I think yes, of course. There, yesterday, I think I talked about it quickly on my social media and so on Twitter. There have been people who are thinking about writing articles with machines and making it multilingual. So yes, I think the answer is yes. And maybe in a couple of months this will happen if abstract Wikipedia goes forward. I think there is a lot of interesting progress in abstract Wikipedia, so it will happen. I have no doubt about it.